When a loved one is diagnosed with ALS, the impact, it doesn't just stop with the immediate family. It ripples out, right? It touches cousins, aunts, uncles, in-laws. So today, we're going to dive into that unique and honestly often unspoken experience. How do you navigate this journey as an extended family member? How do you balance that deep sense of care with, well, everything else going on in your own life?
Wow, yeah, this quote, it really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's that feeling of being so connected by these powerful family ties, but at the same time, you're separated by distance or just the busyness of daily life. This is not a simple diagnosis to process. It carries this really unique weight when you're kind of watching from the sidelines.
All right, so just to make sure we're all on the same page here, ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, is a disease that affects the nerve cells that control our voluntary muscles. We're talking about things like speaking, swallowing, even breathing. And the key word here is progressive. That means the needs and the challenges are going to change over time. And that's absolutely crucial for understanding the journey we're talking about today. So, where does this all begin for someone on the sidelines? Well, it almost always starts with that initial moment you hear the news, that diagnosis. And in an instant, everything just shifts, even if you're hundreds of miles away. Your first reactions are probably all over the place, right? Disbelief, maybe some confusion. You might find yourself frantically Googling, searching for answers, for a cure. And then there's this thing called anticipatory grief. It's a heavy one. It's basically mourning the future losses, the moments you thought you'd have with them. But for a lot of people, it's also this powerful wake-up call to reconnect. And this is where a really deep internal conflict can kick in. You feel so helpless, especially if you live far away. There's often this wave of guilt for not being more involved. And here's a big one. You might find yourself downplaying your own sadness, telling yourself it's not as valid as what the immediate family is going through. But here's the thing, you can find your footing. It really starts small, a simple text message or a quick call just to show you're thinking of them. It's also about giving yourself space to process your own feelings, maybe talking to a friend or even a therapist. Look, this isn't about you solving the whole problem. It's about turning that initial shock into a real starting point for support. Okay, so this leads us perfectly into the next phase of the journey. Because as the reality of the situation starts to set in, your role, it just naturally begins to shift. You're not just a distant cousin or uncle anymore. You start becoming a real, active part of the support system. I mean, just look at this comparison here. Before, maybe it was all about casual catch-ups at family reunions. Now, it could be coordinating medical appointments or organizing who's running errands this week. The whole dynamic shifts from lighthearted jokes to providing some really serious emotional support. And yet, that transition can feel a little strange, for sure, but it's also often exactly where the relationship finds a new, deeper level. And this story from a cousin, man, it just perfectly captures that feeling. They talked about how helping their aunt with these small tasks felt both strange and incredibly fulfilling, and it actually deepened their bond. It's those small acts of service that can completely transform a relationship. It's also so important to get that the need for support evolves. It's not static. At first, it might just be about learning about the disease, doing research. Later, it could be helping with mobility or finding new ways to communicate. This is not a sprint, you guys. It's a marathon, and it requires you to adapt every step of the way. But of course, taking on this new role comes with its own set of challenges. Let's be real. You're still juggling your own work, your own family, your own health, and that physical and emotional strain, it can build up quietly until, bam, you're facing total burnout because you've neglected your own well-being. So, how do you manage all this? First, use technology. Video calls can be a lifesaver for bridging that distance. Also, try to offer specific help, like, hey, can I research some equipment for you, instead of just, let me know if you need anything. And this is crucial. You have to set boundaries to avoid that burnout. Prioritize your own health. You've heard it a million times, but you really can't pour from an empty cup. But okay, let's talk about something else. Beyond all the practical challenges, there's this hidden emotional toll, the stuff that often goes completely unseen by everyone else. So I want you to really think about this question for a second. Do you ever feel like your grief is less valid than the grief of the immediate family? This is such a common feeling. You hold back, you hesitate to talk about your own sadness because you think, well, they have it so much worse. But listen, your grief is real. It is valid, and it absolutely deserves to be acknowledged. Here's what's so essential to understand. It is 100% normal to feel isolated or to struggle with depression and anxiety on this journey. Watching someone you love go through this is incredibly, incredibly difficult, especially when you're doing it from a distance.
And this is exactly why finding your own support system is so vital. Online groups can be amazing for connecting with people who just get it. And sometimes it's the simple things, right? A few deep breaths, a mindfulness exercise, carving out a little time for a hobby you love. That can create so much mental space. But above all else, please give yourself permission to feel whatever it is you're feeling. It is okay.
All right, as the disease progresses, it does something more than just change your role as a helper. It fundamentally redefines your entire connection with your loved one.
Yeah, you're definitely going to miss the easy, casual way things used to be, and you'll probably have to navigate your loved one's pride or their resistance to help. But what's really fascinating here is that last point. It's this strange paradox. As physical abilities decline, the emotional closeness between you can actually grow so much stronger. And this story about an uncle is a perfect example of how that works. His pride made it really hard for him to accept help at first, but the family's regular, gentle check-ins, that's what slowly rebuilt the trust. That's what opened the door for support. It's about presence, not pressure. So the key here is adaptation. You have to embrace new technologies that can help with communication. And please, make time for things that aren't just about support. Look at old photos, share memories, tell a dumb joke. It's all about redefining what it means to be close. Sometimes a heartfelt text message can be just as powerful as a physical visit. Okay, so this brings us to our final thought. After navigating all of these challenges, the shock, the shifting roles, the emotional toll, where do you find the strength to keep going? How do you find meaning when you're on the sidelines? This might be the single most important takeaway from our whole conversation. Your job isn't to fix everything. It's not about finding a cure or solving every single problem. Real strength in this situation comes from your ability to adapt. It comes from being present, and it comes from offering love in whatever form it's needed in that moment. And you know where you find that solace? It's not in the grand gestures. It's in the small things. It's in a shared laugh during a really difficult moment. It's in a kind message or a thoughtful note. It's in discovering this unexpected strength inside yourself that you never knew you had. And it's in that surprising, profound closeness that can only grow from a shared struggle. So ultimately, just remember this. This path is undeniably heavy. There's no way around that. But it is the small moments of connection that provide the light in the darkness. Lean on them, cherish them, because they are what will sustain you and your loved one through the entire journey ahead.